Welcome, guys. Wow, we are on day 17 of the Doomsday Prophets trial, Chad Daybell. And boy, what a day it was. And for those of you that's been waiting years to see Melenie Boudreaux / Pawaski finally share her side of the story, at least parts of it, this was your day. But was she telling the truth? Just as interesting was her husband, Ian Pawaski. How did they manage to get their story straight and together, knowing, in my opinion, and probably yours as well, that follow this case, their lies? And we're going to share our opinions today and see where it goes. First, I want to start off with a very important witness on the stand today, and that would be Detective Daniels.
And so now that we've located an area of interest because of that raised berm, we've designated a little perimeter here. And now our job is just to go layer by layer and excavate this site. And if there's anything of interest, anything of value, we'll stop and take photographs, scans, and then kind of continue down to see what there is, if anything, at this location. And this picture is just showing how we've now taken off some of that first layer of vegetation, and we've started the process.
This is 170G. Agent, what was going on in 170G?
So we've removed the vegetation off the top, and what we start to notice are these different stones or cement blocks that start to protrude through the soil. So that starts to draw our attention. And so we stopped and took some photographs of what that's starting to look like.
So what is Detective Daniels talking about? Well, he's talking about one of Lori Vallow's children, the adopted son, J.J. Vallow, 7 years old at the time. Police used satellite images and they started finding some answers. They found areas that they felt that were disturbed. They also talked with family members and learned that they had a pet cemetery on Chad Daybell's property. And what you're about to hear next may be disturbing because police and investigators were right. Near this fire pit right here, they locate Tylee Ryan's remains. And by this pond, near this tree, they locate J.J. Vallow's remains. Listen closely, because he's going to tell you what he noticed about this gravesite is how organized and well put together it is.
So now we've gone another layer down, and so these are what the stones and cement block are looking like. And then I like this photograph because it shows whoever's done this in the ground. And I like this photo just because it's showing how precise these stones are laid across this burial. And then on the left side of your photo, you start to see a wooden plank that's underneath the stones. And we'll get to the wooden planks in another photograph. But on this photograph, you can at least see how they're laid on top of these wooden planks. And then around these rocks, you can start to see the tree roots. This burial was next to this large tree, and you can see how somebody's taken the time to cut through these tree roots to place this burial here in this location.
This statement makes you wonder if he's suggesting perhaps Chad Daybell had something to do with this. Why? Because he was a sexton. He had worked in the graveyard for years. Here's the thing. Tylee was the first one. On September 9th is what they believe. Her life was taken. And they believe that she was put into this fire pit and burned. It was a mess. They seemed to have difficulty getting all of that together and disposing it. So I think this is why JJ was not done this way. I said this in a video before. Now we're going to get into something that was really interesting. And that was the fact that Melanie Boudreaux / Pawaski, which is Lori Vallow's niece, was on the witness stand, whereas for Lori's trial, she was not put on the witness stand. We don't know why, but we can guess. Firstly, she's not a very good liar. And let me tell you, she lies a lot. I thought it was odd that prosecutors took the chance of putting her on the stand. Melanie Boudreaux at the time had lied about her husband, Brandon Boudreaux, saying he was gay and all types of things. And Brandon Boudreaux sued Melanie's attorney and got millions because it was pure slander. She also denied that she had anything or knew anything about Brandon Boudreaux's attempted shooting, which a lot of people do not believe, simply because Brandon Boudreaux figured out real quick that the person shooting at him was driving Charles' Jeep that he had bought for Tylee Ryan. And most likely, it was Alex. Melanie Boudreaux said that she knew nothing about that, and that she even attempted to ask her uncle, are you doing, did you do something like that? Well, in court today, there was some audio that came out. And in that audio, you can hear Melanie's state of mind. And in her state of mind, she is clearly part of this group. And she is clearly helping them. Many people, most of you who follow this case that know this couple, Melenie Boudreaux and Ian Pawaski, they believe that Ian is absolutely nuts for being with her and that he should run. They don't understand why he stays with Melanie. Firstly, you got to understand that Ian Pawaski come out at first telling the truth, but suddenly he changed his mind about wanting to go gun-ho against this whole entire group, and he wanted to save his lovely girlfriend or wife, Melanie Boudreaux, from this horrible situation, and he did whatever he needed to do so. Basically sold his soul to the devil like many of these people have done. I'm dumbfounded as to how and why prosecutors will want to use either Ian or Melanie as a witness, because they both absolutely lie. In other words, they'll only tell the truth in certain instances. The majority of what they say, if it can affect them, will and is a lie. And how do you know this? Well, you can compare their past interviews with people like Dateline, or that was Melanie, Nate Eaton, for example. The most important thing to Ian was saving his relationship and his wife, his life, his happiness. Many people are saying, Ian, run, as if Ian is a good guy. Ian is not that good guy people believe that he is, in my opinion. Ian is doing what Ian needs to do to get what Ian wants. We already heard Melanie admit to the fact that they were trying to hide money so that they didn't have to pay more money in child support. We heard how persistent Melanie Pawaski was when she said that the cops or detectives were following her and that they weren't going to leave her alone no matter what, basically. And she seems pretty persistent in getting a certain answer from Lori and Chad. But the answer that she's getting, she doesn't seem to want. She doesn't want to move away. If you heard that testimony yesterday, they told her, they said, you need to move away. But Melanie then asked them, but what about the fact that Rexburg is supposed to be the safe place. This is a place that Chad said we needed to be at when things went down. Lori was quick to say the reason for this is agency. And it's the same thing that she uses whenever things don't go her way. For instance, if Charles didn't die in a car accident, if Tammy didn't die, etc., and so on. The reason is agency. Things can change. And it is changing because why? Satan. You hear them speaking about the fact that it's the police that are dark and corrupted. Not Lori, not Chad, not Melanie Boudreaux, not Melanie Gibbs, Zalimo, Alex Cox. None of the cops have kids missing. Only Lori does. And you can see for yourself that Melanie Boudreaux at the time was more than in support of Lori Vallow. And this is why a lot of people following this case are confused. How is it her testimony as a witness isn't strong enough to be a reason she's not behind bars? She admitted on a recorder that she did her best to distract detectives, and Lori and Chad, her mom and dad, said how proud they were that she was able to help them out. The evidence is more against, in my opinion, people like Melanie Gibb and Melanie Boudreaux than it is for Lori and Chad. But it was evident at the end they were all starting to turn on each other. Melanie was the only one that understood the fact that if you're supposed to be as a union group, you're supposed to look out and stick together till the end. Melanie Boudreaux knew that Melanie Gibb was more trustworthy and higher on the ranking system than she was for Lori and Chad, and she didn't understand why they chose Melanie Gibb over her, because in reality, Melanie Boudreaux was more loyal than Melanie Gibb. What was Ian doing the whole time? Well, I do believe some things that Ian says, like the fact that he was just doing whatever he had to support Melanie and her beliefs. In other words, pretending that he, believed her and wanted to take part in it, but in reality, he could care less. He just wanted what he wanted. And I'm still shocked that he chose to stick with this woman over his future with his children. So we don't know what's going on with that today, but I'm sure they found a way to manipulate their way into normalcy of some type. For Ian, we never had proof that he was ever really religious. And he said, after all this, it ruined his belief basically in all religion. Now, they did talk about the fact that Melanie was in Hawaii with Lori when they found out that Tammy Daybell passed away. This is very important because Aubrey would later show up in Hawaii after Melanie and Lori invited her on this little trip. And we don't know exactly how this happened, but hopefully Aubrey hasn't come on a stand yet. And Aubrey seems to be the most honest one out of this entire group. I hope she exposes them all. I'm looking forward to Aubrey testifying, and I'm hoping that she'll find the courage to not fear being a person of God. If you really want to be a person of God, that means you have to tell the truth no matter what. But anyways, remember, Lori tells Aubrey that she feels bad for Melanie and she needs someone to come stay with Melanie. That is in Hawaii. What concerns me is the fact that Alex Cox had been planned to go on that trip originally, but for some reason it was canceled. This makes me wonder if Aubrey might have been next. This is speculation. But Aubrey testified at Lori, well, it was a surprising testimony, and I'm glad she did it, that after they left Hawaii, they end up in Rexburg at Chad's house after Tammy passes away, and it's there that she tells them that she's uncomfortable and that she wants to leave, and at that point, Lori threatens to kill her. Lori tells her that life isn't as innocent, basically. I don't have it word for word. We'll have to look it up later. And as naive as she is. Basically, Lori was admitting that she didn't believe in any of this stuff that she was teaching, and that it was just a ruse in order to build something she was interested in. I'll never forget that day that Aubrey could release what she knew. You could tell it was a major relief for her, and that truly Aubrey has a soft, kind heart. And it was these people taking advantage of that kind heart and torturing this poor soul, leading her down lies and deception, never-ending paths to hell. My heart is still afraid, and I just feel for Aubrey. I believe Aubrey more than any of them. Zulema, Melanie Gibb, Melanie Boudreaux Pawaski, Lori Vallow, and Chad Daybell, in my opinion, were all equally guilty in everything that happened in this case, and I don't understand why they are not accessories. We continue to see them blame each other. They don't know where the blame goes because the blame goes on themselves. And Ian, who seems to fight with himself on doing the right thing, can't seem to break away from the darkness. I mean, honestly, he's truly drawn to the darkness. It is around December, he said. It's his birthday. They're also doing something of their honeymoon around this time. He starts recording this group secretly, only whenever he's part of the group. And listening to Melanie in these recordings more than shows, her true intentions and who she truly cared about. Melanie was really quite a mess during this time. I think she was lost. Her life was turned upside down. It's just horribly a mess. And I was really shocked that the prosecutors played this video of Melanie, Ian, Lori, Zulema, Alex, and Chad, especially on how Melanie seeks their gratitude for her part that she played in deterring police. Chad and Lori, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, say how proud they are of her. And Ian, of course, is quite quiet. He knows it's being recorded. I also noticed that Chad really is the one that copies everything, Lori says. I noticed that the witnesses were trying to say that Chad had a lot of part to do with this, but it was hard for them because most of their interaction was with Lori. All the direction, the ideas, the terms were all coming from Lori Vallow. So again, Chad, he was doing a 180. He spent his whole life saying that Rexburg was a safe place. Moved Tammy away from her home, his kids. And then when he meets Lori and things go down, it's agency. It's no longer safe. What I did learn from this, and I'm sure you did as well, is Ian seemed to know everything about this group. It says so on the recording. According to Melanie, Ian figured it out mostly by himself. And if he was smart enough to figure that out, he certainly could have figured out Melanie's role in this group. Maybe today Melanie realizes, and I'm talking about Melanie Boudreaux, that maybe this path she was on was not so great. Maybe Lori wasn't that great of a person and that she was leading her down a dark hole. So their statements did kind of, they clashed big time between Ian and Melanie. Whereas one said they didn't know anything about Tylee and JJ. Ian said that Melanie, on the night that they got married, on a recording, had concerns about Tylee and JJ's well-being. This scared him. When his daughter was playing hide and go seek, they couldn't find her for about 5 minutes. And something on this scared him enough to start talking sense into Melanie. So whether or not he was able to talk enough sense into Melanie that she might move forward in a positive light. I don't know, but the gamble is not worth it. And the things that Ian are doing to stay with this girl is just not worth it as well. I believe in second chances, so I wish them the best, and I hope that they can move forward and live a clean, better life. I really do. But how do you guys feel about all of this, these witnesses from yesterday? I was very thankful for Daniels. He did a good job, very good job on making the jury understand, how emotional this day was and how well planned it was. Please share your thoughts below, guys. Don't forget to share our missing people. And please make sure that you like, sub, share. That would be really great. It's really difficult today to get these videos out. But more than anything, please share our missing girls that we share here. Their stories are still unsolved. Love you guys, and I hope to see you soon.